Welcome to Magical Memories Unlocked, your guide to events that truly rock. From tips on planning and entertainment too, will help you make your dream event come true. Now without delay, let's dive into your guide to event success today. Welcome to Magical Memories Unlocked, your guide to events that truly rock. From tips on planning and entertainment too, will help you make your dream event come true. Now without delay, let's dive into your guide to event success today.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Magical Memories Unlocked, your guide to event success. This is our deep dive into different entertainers. Today we have Joyce with us. Joyce is at this point she's world renowned for for her circus skills, and she is a circus educator, a circus performer. You know what? I'm going into all your accolades. Would you like to introduce yourself? Tell everybody what you do and how you do it.
Hi, so I'm Miss Joyce, or people call me Joyce. Usually, I do all kind of circus variety act, I guess. And usually I just do groundwork, so I don't do anything in the air, but everything on the ground, basically I do it all. And I teach them, I spray the love of circus. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. So you say groundwork, what kind of stuff does that mean? I mean, are you like doing push-ups, or like what does groundwork mean exactly?
That means my feet are on the ground usually. So well, except unicycle, that's kind of. So compared to aerialists, they they hold themselves in the air. So I do juggling, I do Diablo, the Chinese yo-yo, I do hula hoop, I do like unicycle, I do those balancing board, spinning plate, clowning kind of. So yeah, basically everything on the ground area.
Gotcha.
Try to cover it all.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite skill?
I like juggling the most, actually. And I started juggling. But for whatever reason, I feel like I'm not naturally good at it, but I'm naturally a little bit better at hula hooping. So with the time I put in, I actually get a little bit, I guess I get better at hula hoop than juggling, even though juggling is my true love.
Okay, that's very
He just didn't like me back. So.
Listen, everybody asks me. That's one thing people ask me all the time. Like, can you juggle? It's one of those skills that I cannot do. I cannot.
You can't?
Nope, not a juggler. I can do Diablo. I can kind of spin plates. I can do. I'm decent at poi. I can do a little bit of devil sticks, but juggling, like 3 balls, throw it up in the air. Everybody's tried to teach me. I'm not good. I haven't gotten it yet.
Maybe you didn't have a good teacher.
Okay. All right. Next tour, we'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll torture you.
Oh, thank you. I wanted to ask. I mean, so speaking of that, how did you start? How did you get into this?
Well, so I had a friend.
Okay.
I have a friend. My ex-partner. He was a juggler.
Okay.
Well, he was a juggler. So he started teaching me how to juggle. And on my first birthday, he got me a spinning plate. So it took me 30 minutes to learn how to spin a plate. And then the following year, he got me a unicycle. So I started learning unicycle. And
It's
I
crazy.
used to have a real job at an office.
Uh,
And every day I would use my lunch break and just go practice juggling because I just
oh,
love it so much. And
cool.
so it just kind of become, I just kind of get better. And then lucky enough, I don't have to do an office job anymore. So
Ah,
yeah, that's the
that's super
transition.
cool. That's awesome. So at what point were you like, this is what I'd rather do? Is there like a like a light moment that you realize this is what I want to do?
So I feel like I was kind of being forced in a way. So
Okay.
well, so my partner, he always wanted to do a juggling duo act.
Okay.
And, sometimes, it's kind of hard to find another person who can meet up with you regularly.
Hmm.
So he started, putting his hope on me. So he started teaching me how to do passing with juggling. And so I guess I just started doing it as his lovely assistant with his
Mm,
show.
mm,
So we start putting his 1 hour show, turn it into a duo show.
mm,
So it's like a slow progression. So I would start doing like pre-show. I
mm,
start trying my hula hoop in his pre-show.
mm,
And then I start helping with like spinning plate.
mm,
So it's like less pressure. I'm just start being there and get used to the show and all that.
mm,
And then eventually my skill gets good enough and then I start performing. So I wouldn't say it's like my dream or like my choice. It just kind of like naturally become what it is.
mm,
And originally I start with just putting music for him and taking photos. So
mm,
I was just on the stage, but I didn't really have a lot of part.
mm,
So it kind of like built up like that.
okay,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
So I mean, it's interesting is that you kind of said that you're excited and you're happy that you're no longer having to do a corporate job, but it sounds like it's also kind of a challenge for you as well. Can you kind of speak to the balance that has, between the desire to have the freedom of being a performer as well as
Mm.
the struggle with that as well?
Oh, the struggle, there's a lot. But it's also very exciting. I
Okay.
feel like that's why I like the education, the teaching part in the
Mm,
circus art, because it's like it's less stressful. Also, I started late. I started
mm,
learning everything when I was 27.
mm,
But I do believe in juggling. It's never too late to learn. So I like the teaching aspect, and then it's also more consistent
mhm,
compared to gigging. So
mhm,
when I'm working with like the National Circus Project or different circus education, organization, usually
mhm,
it's a lot more it's more consistent and then gigging on the side doesn't feel so stressful.
mhm.
So I wouldn't feel like, to pay my rent and all that.
Sure, sure, sure,
But
sure.
I do feel like after being a freelancer, I use my time definitely a lot better because I have a
Mm,
lot more free time.
mhm,
And then, I have to self-manage myself, right? We
mhm,
have to like market ourselves, we have to keep practicing and then gigging and then, community, build your connections. So
mhm,
I feel like it's definitely a lot different because it's not like you go to work, when you're done, you're done. You don't have to think about
mhm,
it.
mhm,
It's always in your mind. So there's good and there's bad, but I don't feel like I'm wasting my time.
mhm,
Like I
mhm.
remember when I was working in the office, sitting there, it just felt like a waste of time. Like I'm just checking on the clock all the time. Like
Sure.
so that aspect, I definitely feel, a lot better, but I
More
know I'm
fulfilled.
not going to be like rich. So that's the trade-off.
You know
So
what's
yeah.
interesting? You kind of touched on something. So one, it feels like what you're doing is more fulfilling, personally
Mhm.
fulfilling, which is a good
Yes.
thing. But I also think it's interesting is you touched on how much work goes into this. So I think people don't realize that as a client. I mean, the kind of this is to share with clients how they experience it. But as a client, people don't realize that performers have a lot more than just showing up, right? You show up and that's
Right.
all you're doing. Oh, you have a couple of clubs, you bring them in there, you juggle. Why? Why is it so expensive? I mean, can you kind of
Right.
talk a little bit more about, what goes into all the training and all the time?
Mhm.
Maybe, I mean, the training's one aspect, but also, the other parts of it of actually like getting to the gigs and, all that stuff. How does that, I guess,
Right.
feel and do?
Well, so I would say, I think 2 years ago, I didn't have a car, which was very challenging.
I can
And so
imagine.
that kind of limits what I can do and how
Hmm.
I want to progress as a performer.
Okay.
So certain things like, okay, that's too heavy, that's too big. I'm not even going to
Mm-hmm.
try or consider about it.
Mm-hmm.
So after a car, it definitely opens my door. But also living in the city, it's also an extra expenses,
Mm-hmm.
I have to find parking. I can't have a nice car because people break in. So there's different aspect of it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but Wait, what's the question again? Remind me.
I was just talking to
It's
like,
early.
how much work goes into
Oh, yeah.
actually, actually doing,
Mm,
entertainment.
right.
It's not just you showing up with, three clubs and juggling and, that's what it comes. But like all the like that, speak to kind of the training that goes into it on an ongoing,
Right, right, right.
learning and stuff that you have with it.
Well, I guess it's like I feel like one of the hardest thing is the consistency, right?
Hmm.
So a lot of people they could juggle, but when you're in a tight space or different situation or low ceiling, a
Hmm.
really dark light, those kind of thing kind of comes with the experience.
Hmm.
So I feel like before the gig, you never really know exactly what you're expecting.
Hmm.
So when I was relatively new, that always give me like more made me really nervous, more anxiety. And without a
Hmm.
car, I want to get there like extra early
Hmm.
and you
Hmm.
want to make sure you bring everything. But without a car, also, you can only carry so much.
Sure.
So I feel like now it feels a little bit better. I kind of seen all the situation, I seen the worst and the best. So I kind of
Ah,
know what I'm expecting.
sure.
So now nothing really surprised me anymore. But that part definitely takes a lot more experience.
Hmm.
And then the other thing is like, yeah, like the practice. It's like I guess it's like when you hire someone who could juggle or a more experienced juggler,
Hmm.
usually it's like the consistency or like the control you could have, or
Hmm.
can you juggle even without looking at your pattern? Like looking at
Mm.
people when you're juggling, it is a trick itself, which is
Ah.
something I never really thought of when I'm learning.
Uh-huh.
Because when you're learning tricks, why would you ever practice that? But when you start
Uh,
performing, you realize, oh, you want to be able to engage with people as well. So I
mm.
think that part definitely takes it's harder to practice by yourself. You just have to do enough gigs to get more comfortable with that.
Mm.
So that part is kind of tricky. And then I feel like at this point, because I'm not that young anymore, learning a new tricks takes longer.
Mm.
And then you kind of have to pick what you want to focus because my body, I can't do it all.
Mhm.
Like I remember there's a period of time I was learning how to do aerial. So I was trying to
Mm.
do like things in the air, but
Mhm.
also try to do groundwork. And then my body just couldn't really afford doing both.
Mm.
So I do feel like performers at some point you kind of have to narrow down
Mhm.
and focus what you want to expand instead of just trying everything that looks fun.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that's kind of like where I'm find myself like, have to manage and yeah, invest my time and energy a little bit more appropriately.
Mhm. That's
So
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
like, oh, like hula hoop. If I spend a little bit of time, I can get more return.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
should I try to expand something completely new and try to build like a longer show, like a full
Mhm.
30-minute, 40-minute show all by
Mhm.
myself?
Mhm.
Or should
Mhm.
I try to make my unicycle act even better? Because
Mhm.
that's the one people usually book me for. So I feel like there's different aspect to think about, like,
Mhm.
or like struggle with as a solo performer. So that's
Yeah.
part of like, I think the difficulty for me right now where I am. And
Sure.
yeah,
Sure.
that
Sure.
part's
Sure.
kind of hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, trying to decide on what to do and how to do it is really is a growth struggle. And I
Mhm.
love that. I mean, I love that you're open about that because I don't think people realize it. I think when in
Mhm.
any I mean, unless you're another circus performer who's training in the same regard, you don't kind of get that. Even people that are in the industry, they don't quite
Right.
understand. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and I think that's one of the really hard thing about being a juggler is like you are going to drop eventually,
Oh,
right? It's
that's a
like
good question. Really? So people that
it's
don't,
real.
it is real. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually really funny you brought that up, and I'm glad you did because I don't think people realize that when when you drop, people go like, like, oh my God, I can't believe you did it. But like, yeah, I mean, I didn't really, I've never really thought about it even in being some of the books it a lot. Is that like, dropping is a real thing. It's a part of it. It's not showing
Mhm.
failure. It's just inevitable.
Yes. It's definitely a thing to be okay with it and not get weird about it because if
Hmm.
I feel weird dropping, people are going to feel the vibe. So to be okay and trying to make joke about it, and then
Hmm. Hmm.
I think that is also part of the because like I remember you were asking like what is the hard training part of it. It's like yeah,
Hmm.
like also to be okay, dropping in front of people and then pick it out, try again. And that is also one thing I do like a lot with teaching because you show the kids it's like this is not magic, it's not
Hmm.
messed up, this is part of a thing. If you don't drop, you're not making it more difficult for yourself, you're not trying harder. And
Hmm.
so I think it's also finding a balance to be you know trying hard trick, but not try too much of it. Otherwise, I'm gonna drop too much. Like find a good balance, like you know, because certain tricks like if you don't try in front of people, you would never get good enough. So to take a little bit risk every single time, but not too much. So people still hire me. So yeah.
I understand. But I really find that inspiring what you're saying there, and it just goes to show that you thrive in the education world, because the way you just kind of presented that idea is that you need to take yourself out of your comfort zone. You're
Yes,
not just gonna be, if you're doing it and you're good at it and you're always successful, it means you're not trying hard enough, which I think is so
right.
interesting. It's such an interesting perspective.
It is, but also that's why I get discouraging sometimes if I'm trying, or like the kids will get like discouraging sometimes if I'm pushing them too hard. So I do think it's like a little fine line. And growing up as Asian, my parents are never encouraging, they never really encourage you. So that's also
I
my
thought that was a
personal,
stereotype. I thought,
my learning curve. I'm trying to figure out yeah. Anyway,
that's funny.
feels like a therapy session right now.
I know, I love it, and I think that's really the best thing, is that you can give insight or you can give people insight that there's more than just 3 balls going up in the air. There's really a lot of
Or
struggle.
5 balls.
Yeah. Yes, or 5, which
Just,
I can't even do. I think I can do 1. So you're anybody can do 2 is better than I am.
oh.
It's so cool. So I mean, let's go down the lane of education. I mean, can you speak a little bit about what that looks like? So if someone's like, hey, I would love to bring in a program to my school, what would something like that look like for a client?
I guess it's like, yeah, if it's like in a school program kind of setting, it's a little bit different than like a one-on-one or more like personal, yeah, like private training. But the school program, I like the concept. So basically we go to a different elementary school for a week. And then on Friday, the fifth grader, they will put a circus show for the school and do a show for their parents in the evening. So basically we take over the phys ed education, their PE time. We use it to teach them circus. So usually we have 7 or 8 different circus skills. So I think the idea is I really think about circus as a part of a physical education program because it's physical. It's, it shouldn't be a totally separate things. Like at school, some schools they do hula hoop, which is part of a circus skills. They would do maybe like tumbling, some acrobatic, which is part of the circus, right? But I feel like usually when kids grow up, they don't look at it the same way. Or when they look at juggling, they think that's something impossible. They don't think they can ever achieve. Or even unicycle. Right. And it's so interesting because everyone learned how to ride a bike, most of them. But riding a unicycle, people have such a different, like people think you're crazy trying to learn a unicycle. And it's like I taught some people who can't learn a unicycle without knowing how to ride a bike. So it's not necessarily which one is harder, it's just which one you expose to it earlier. So you don't look at it through a different lens. So I think education part is also, yeah, have them used to and then understanding what it is. And yeah, like don't look at it as something you can never achieve. Like 3-ball juggling.
Eventually, one of these days.
Right. And then that's why it's like start with 1. 1 is doable. Then 2. And then you gradually, there's a progression.
That's true. That is true. Interesting.
Right. Cool. And then I think another challenging thing with the school program is just learning how to communicate with kids, how to make them line up, how to do choreography. Because you even have the kids lining up, that part is super tricky. Like if you've never been in the room with like 50 kids trying to have everyone lining up, that part itself takes a lot of, it's like learning to be a teacher, that part. I feel like as a circus performer, I didn't really learn or being trained professionally. So that's, I definitely give teachers a lot more respect and oh yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah. Well, you are a teacher. I mean, you're teaching something that's unique, which is great. And also, I mean, it can be discouraging too when they're not able to do certain aspects of it. I mean, can you get into that a little bit of how do you overcome somebody that feels like that it is impossible, like me with juggling?
Well, I have to work with you, and then I'm surprised you cannot juggle. I do feel like sometimes it's about like it's one or the other, right? Do they have fun or do you have a good show at the end? And
Mm,
sometimes as a performer, you focus too much at the final show because you have a certain way you want things to look like. You
mhm,
have an image in your head how the show is gonna be. So when you go to a new school, especially it's every week. So usually Friday, I just finish a good show. And then Monday start over again. And then you really have to not have that image in your head how you
mhm,
want it to be because they're different kids, their skills are different.
mhm,
So I find it sometimes if I have a certain ideas and then I tend to put too much pressure on the kids,
mhm,
then it's not about learning or it's not about having fun, it's
mhm,
about making the show perfect.
mhm,
So I feel like sometimes it is a trade-off and I have to constantly remind myself it's like, it's not about doing the bad show, it's about inspiring them because we're only there for a week. If
mhm.
they're not having fun after this week, they would never want to juggle again or think about it, right? I don't want to traumatize them. But
Sure.
if they have fun, they will always, remember the experience and then once
Mhm.
a while give it a try again. And I think
Yeah.
that's a successful education is the continued education, right? To
The
make them want
desire
to
for
continue, to
yeah.
inspire them.
Mhm,
And I think that's hopefully if we are doing it right, that's the
mhm.
goal. So
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like for myself, that is, yeah, that's the challenge
I can
and the
imagine.
fun of it.
Yeah, that's for sure. Um, Let me ask you this. All right, I'm gonna go personal with this. Then how do
Uh,
you how do you treat that with yourself? Do you go after trying to have a better time or the perfect show?
how do I treat myself?
Well,
Like,
how do you balance that? How do you balance
oh,
the that same thing you just mentioned for the kids and how you treat that show? How do you balance it
oh,
for yourself?
yeah, that is hard. That is definitely a hard. Um, I feel like that is something I'm trying to. I guess a new goal this year is trying to play with the props more instead of trying to practice so much.
Hmm.
I'm trying to play, yeah, trying to play more and then
Mhm.
practice less. So instead of like trying to go through like, okay, five ball, try to do my cascade, try to count how many throws I can throw, but just do one ball and then see how many ways I can have fun with it.
Hmm.
Just trying to move more like body movement, more like a dancing kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I feel like I'm trying to build a different relationship with the props because at this point I do find it a little bit like boring or like not inspiring, or
Mm.
I'm just trying the same tricks over and over again and I don't feel the progress sometimes.
Mhm.
Especially during the winter time, we
Mhm.
can't really go outside. It feels
Mhm.
kind of trapped.
Mhm.
And so I feel like now it's more like I'm trying to have fun mentally,
Mhm. Mhm.
try to find something I'm exciting to perform instead of something is like highly skills. I
Mhm.
just have to do it perfectly
Mhm.
because then that doesn't seem fun anymore.
Mhm.
So I feel like that is something I try to create, or I want to create something a little bit more clowning, more funny, but it's
Mhm.
not so highly skills, but
Mhm.
something, more like a story or something more fun.
Mhm.
I came up with while playing.
Mhm.
So I guess that's the new balance I am trying to figure out.
Yeah, that
I
makes
hope that
sense.
makes sense.
And actually that kind of answers another question I had, which is how do you handle burnout with this? I'm sure, doing it on a daily basis or even for you. I mean, yours is more often than a lot of other performers. You're doing it all the time, every day doing skills. So how do you manage that burnout?
To be honest, I feel lucky enough. I feel like most of the gigs I did are pretty fun. And
Okay.
so to be honest, at the moment, it's the energy is always great. I think it's
Hmm.
more like my physical limitation, how much gigs I can do, especially in the cold, or if it's 4 hours, I'm not
Mhm.
young anymore. So I think for me it's more about the physical, yeah, challenge, try not to get hurt.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
for the most part, I feel like I haven't really being in the situation, I was like, oh, I don't want to perform anymore. Like for the most part, it's like I could get really, really stressed out.
Mhm.
But it's never I feel sick of it or like
Hmm.
tired of it.
Hmm.
I feel like whenever I'm at the events, it's always great energy. People are always in a good vibe, they're in a good mood, and that translate. And you can feel they are appreciated when you are there. Like I feel like if I have fun, they have fun.
Oh,
And
for sure.
it you know, yeah, it
Yeah.
go back and forth. So I feel pretty lucky. And I also kind of like variety of stuff. So I also do like balloon twisting. I usually do
Hmm.
face painting. I
Hmm.
do walk around. I do stage show. I do teaching. So they are not always exactly the same. So that
Hmm.
kind of break it off. So yeah, I feel not too bad about the
Not too
burning
bad.
out, but mental stress, that definitely, like if I did a couple bad shows in a row, that
Hmm.
definitely gets in my head. But
Hmm.
that's like a different, yeah, different stress.
Interesting.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's go down and talking about events then. I mean, you're talking about, good things. You're talking about in general, you have good experiences.
Uh-oh.
Has there been, I mean, let's balance this to start. Let's say, has there been an event that you could remember where you walked in or you started and you're like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. And then you somehow turned it around and made it really successful?
Somehow I turn around. Huh. Well, I do remember there's one event, it just went terribly wrong. It was never recovered. That's why I'm trying to think. Um, I I feel like kind of like what I was saying to you earlier. I feel
Mhm.
like at this point, well, I feel lucky because I started as a duo as the lovely assistants.
Mhm.
So I think I seen enough events
Mhm.
that my
Mhm.
partner had to deal with, and it didn't go perfectly right.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to go through it personally, but I have, I seen that. So I think after I became like a solo performer, I haven't been in a situation that I feel like very underprepared.
Mhm.
There is one time, um, the agency they provide me three LED club,
Mhm.
but they didn't know how to turn it on, and I didn't know how to turn it on, and that wasn't my LED club. That was before I can afford my own. And then apparently you have to turn on with a magnet. And so I spent
Ah.
30 minutes running around the whole venue just trying to find a magnet, try to be able to turn it on.
Oh
Because when the
no.
LED clubs are not on, they are useless.
They're
Right.
white. They're
So,
white clubs. Then it's cool.
but when it's dark, you
I
can't
know.
do it. Or one time, I think it's like two lit on and then one was not on.
Uh-huh.
So one of those technical situations, those usually is like, yeah, I'm
Hmm.
trying to have extra prop or be extra prepared. So I would say usually if I feel like, oh, this is not a great situation, usually that would be the case.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, or sometimes like I try to ask clients all kind of questions so I can be
Hmm.
prepared, like how old the kids are, if it's
Hmm.
indoor, outdoor, how
Hmm.
many
Hmm.
kids are gonna be, how much space I have.
Hmm.
So I wouldn't get surprised when I'm there.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah.
You
So
know,
for the most part that hasn't really happened too much.
that's good. No, that's a fantastic. That's fantastic. That didn't
Knock
just
on wood, knock on
even did.
wood.
Well, you know what I think is something that you're undervaluing is your vast abilities. So you have a lot of different skill sets and you have a lot of adaptability. You've worked through a lot
Mhm.
of things. So I think that's a key part here that it sounds like you're able to manage the situations because you have the skills. You have different skills. So if something's not working, you can kind of switch, um
Right.
which is
But it's
important.
also knowing I'm never going to be the best at any of the skills. That is
Okay.
the trade-off. So
Uh,
I think that is something at the very beginning. Like some people, they focus on just one thing and they're
mhm,
super great at it. And I feel like I'm just more scattered a little bit. I
mhm.
get bored, so I like to do different things.
Sure.
So it just, yeah, I think it just naturally became something very valuable, and I didn't really realize. So
Hmm.
I feel blessing in that way. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, can you speak to more like what you think the benefit of having somebody with lots of skills? I mean, let's talk from like a client's perspective. If I'm
Mhm.
hiring somebody, why would I hire somebody that has a lot of skills versus somebody that really specializes in one skill? I mean, obviously, they each have their benefits and their downsides, but from your perspective.
Well, I feel like if their budget isn't super high, then it's always good to have someone who have different skill, right? Because you can
Okay.
switch it around.
Hmm.
And then sometimes it's like you would think like your guests would like one thing, but
Hmm.
actually maybe they are actually more interesting in something else.
Hmm.
So sometimes I feel like if you bring something, even like flower sticks,
Hmm.
I don't do that a lot, but whenever I bring it out, there's always some dad who was like super into it like 20 years ago. So sometimes different
That's
prop you
me. I'm not a dad, but that's me.
right? Like you connect with different people without realizing, which is always, it's great.
Yeah.
And hula hoop, you can connect with like girls or like, usually like females. So I feel like you can reach different kind of people. Like, because if some people they're not interested in juggling, you're there for a whole hour just juggling. They probably wouldn't really want to talk to you or like, look at you. Or
Uh-huh.
but if you're switching around, it's a little bit more exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And also depends on like if your ceiling is really low, you can juggle high,
Mm-hmm.
then it's good to have like a hula hoop or like different
Mm-hmm.
things so you can do like in a lower sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just in case is always good.
Mm-hmm.
And different prop you can interact with people in different way, right? So hula hoop you can let them try. You can have like a handshake. You can do a little bit of choreography with people.
Mm-hmm.
But for example, like Chinese yo-yo, maybe you cannot do that. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I like to bring everything and just vibe it out
Yeah.
because sometimes the client they don't really know who's coming to the party either,
Sure.
or like they don't really know what 3 years old kids like, or sometimes people who book you they think one thing, but
Mm-hmm.
the guests there they like different things.
Mm-hmm.
So it made me feel a little bit safer to have different things to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has been good so far. Or I remember sometimes it's like the clients they want like a circus workshop because they
Mm-hmm.
think the kids will like it. But then the kids might be a little bit too little, they get frustrated, they didn't really want to try. And then at that point, it will be good to have like some balloons so you can
Mm-hmm.
entertain them in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So it just always good. And that's the thing I do like to be able to do it all instead of like having the the agency to tell me like you can only do this. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to be limited in that way just because I like to try and see what works, what doesn't.
That's cool.
Yeah.
No, I love that, and I think that's really you're absolutely right. I think you really hit the nail on the head that the ability to have variety gives you that safety net. But I think you said something that I didn't even think about, which is really a valuable thing is the ability for you to be able to vary it to the guests themselves. Like that client
Mhm.
might be like, oh, I really want it to be juggling and
Mhm.
or the LED juggling or whatever it might be. I want that one skill. That's what I want. That's what needs to be there. And then when you're doing it, the guests aren't connecting with it as much as let's say it. If you did the LED thing, you're like, oh, I have an LED hoop, and they're like, wow, that's so cool. So you make it that better
Right.
variety. So I think that's really kind of that I think that's valuable, and I think that's really a great point to be made. I'm
And
really again, I'm sorry.
oh no, I just feel like also there are different agencies in the area
Hmm.
and you kind of know what they're looking for at this point. Like I feel like some they're looking for like more like don't interact with a guest, but you're more like kind of like a model just stand there and juggling, more like a visual, like a
Ambiance.
right. And they don't necessarily want you to talk or so I
Mm,
feel like it's kind of like knowing and communicating well enough to know what you're looking for.
mm-hmm.
And right, because some just want to dress you up and then make you look crazy and just stand there to be something like, surreal. And
Uh-huh.
then some is like they want like your personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it's a different vibe and yeah, like both are great. It's just different. Like I remember one client will be really specific. They will be like, only do 3 hoops or more. Right. So I feel
Mm-hmm.
like they just have different, like they're all different. And
Sure.
yeah, so took me a little bit to kind of understand why they all do things differently. But
Mm-hmm.
now it's like, okay, yeah, it does make sense.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay.
Like I have
I,
my preference, but
what
yeah.
is your preference? What's your preference?
Oh, my preference is definitely just like let me do
Let me
all
do
kind of
me.
things. Like I like when the agents like trust me or like
Mm-hmm.
know what I can do
Mm-hmm.
and they just send me out and then know my skill set and then let me kind of explore and test it out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I feel like some it's like if they don't know you that well or they just want a hula hooper, then it doesn't really matter who they're sending out. They just want a
Mm-hmm.
hula hooper. Then I feel like it's not as I guess I feel like it's more replaceable
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
compared to some agents. I feel like they want to send me to this gig because
Mm-hmm.
like think I will be a good fit. That
Mm-hmm.
made me feel better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
So
funny that you said something, and I want to get into the hula hooping specifically because I think I
Hmm.
don't think everybody understands what that entails necessarily. But
Okay.
before I get into that, I wanted to just touch on something you said, which I love, is that you have to understand, like somebody like myself is an entertainment company owner.
Mhm.
It's our job to understand both our our people, our vendors, as well as our clients, so that way we can kind
Yes.
of translate and connect those two.
Right,
Because I
right,
think
right.
that's the big thing is like, wow, why as a client do I just not call, Bobo the juggler? He can hula hoop too.
Right.
And you're like, well, he can, sure, but he might not be the right
Mhm.
fit. And, Bobo over there, he definitely wants to. I don't know if there's Bobo. I apologize if there's Bobo listening. But there's a,
Okay.
he might be able to do hula hoop, but like, is that the vibe? Is that the look? Is that the understanding? And being that translation piece of it. So I love that you said that because that's always been my firm belief is
Mhm.
finding I say it all the time. The right tool for the right job is and performers that we work with. You might not get hired for every job because you're not the right fit for every job.
Right,
So I
right.
think that's the biggest thing that both clients and performers should understand is there's a reason why it's done, and there's a reason like we connect the right people in the right way. So I love it.
Right. It's like a matchmaker.
Yeah,
But
100%.
I feel like because I also feel like your company did a really good job matching the vibe and actually know the performer.
Hmm.
And you personally will be there to see the show sometimes
Hmm.
so you can feel the vibe. And not all agencies do that. And I do feel like it translates. It does.
Oh.
Or sometimes I would get to a gig and I was like, I don't feel like they should hire me. They should hire someone else.
Hmm.
Like some other agency would give me that kind of feelings.
Hmm.
And because I feel like they didn't really understand what
Hmm.
I do or
Hmm.
really understand what the clients want.
Hmm.
So yeah, like I feel like a successful and important entertainment agency is definitely the middle person and know how to match everyone's skills, in the most efficient way. So
I love
yeah,
that. Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely. And I mean, I actually, so we've recently transitioned into saying we're an entertainment concierge. So what we do is we are,
Mm.
we are that person that translates that. I play matchmaker for sure, and I love that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It was always a journey for us, for me to figure out like, what's my value, and that really is the value is understanding people.
Yes.
And honestly, that's why we're doing the call, is so I can understand everybody better. I like to understand and hear your stories and stuff. Going back, I'm going to talk about. I'd love to hear more of the stories too from events. So think back on events. But in the meantime, what is hula hooping at an event? Because I've tried to explain that I understand what it is. Obviously, I've seen it, but telling people that are listening into the call, what does that mean? Are you just like sitting there with a hula hoop around your waist and you're doing this for an hour? Like, what does that exactly mean, or what does that look like to as a performance?
I feel like depends on the kind of event.
Okay.
For example, like I feel like street fair, those kind of things, or like clubs, usually they would love to have hula hooper. So
Hmm.
I feel like it's a lot easier to move around and
Mm.
it's big and it's very relatable and it's something usually I would put extra ones. So for example,
Mm.
if there's like a DJ, if there's like a band playing music
Hmm.
in front of the stage, usually I would like to throw a couple hula hoops and to encourage kids like dance and hula hoop with me at the same
Mm.
time. So that would be one way I like to do with them.
Hmm.
And if it's more like a stage kind of show or like a club kind of situation, usually they will
Hmm.
put me like in a spa. And
Hmm.
then you just kind of like there's a progression, right? You start with one hoops, you can do
Hmm.
two hoop, you do three hoop, you do multiple hoops. So
But
there,
when you say multiple, is it just around your waist, or you like what are you doing exactly?
oh, there's hire me and you would know. But well, so right, you can put all on your body, right? You can
Hmm.
put on your arm, you can make different shapes, you can make
Mm.
a globe, you can
Hmm.
juggle them. So there are different ways you can put some on your feet. There's
Interesting.
no wrong answer. So yeah, but if the space is big enough, it's definitely
Mm.
yeah, it's yeah. Um, yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. Talking about events, I mean, we've talked about how great, you kind of touched on there was a one bad event you want to talk to. We can avoid that, but let's talk about, is there one that you could think back on that really um, inspired you, or was really impactful for you, that really like resonates with you, that you remember?
Oh, there are couples.
Okay.
Usually it's not a good one, and those impacts me the most.
Mm.
Because I think good ones is that you feel great and that's it. but the bad ones like
and that's it. I feel like that's a good thing. No,
right, but bad one stinks, right? So it's like it takes longer to process. And so because I was doing the question yesterday when you like kind of give me like a couple heads up, like what could be. So I think one of the most memorable events was the first time when I mentioned I started juggling with my partner. And so we want to have a juggling passing routine. So we put like 3 kids in the middle and we would juggle and pass around them. That's always like the exciting big trick. And the first time when I did it in front of the audience, so we bring 3 kids. And first of all, I wasn't experienced enough to know the kids might be a little bit too little. So when we do that trick, you want the audience to be big enough so they don't get scared, they don't cry easily. So I pull the kids, which is probably too young.
They don't cry easily. You want to pick the kids that are not gonna cry.
Right. I'm just saying, like adults usually don't cry that easily, which is good. So I pull the kids and then we go up, down and start to throw, right? So I go up, down, and before I even throw, just go up, down, I just hit the kids already because I didn't realize how close the kids is standing there. Like I didn't know how to gauge the distance because I never done it with real people in front of real people. And so that kid's he didn't get hurt, but he just gets scared and he started crying. And then he like ran off the stage. And then I was like, okay, this is
now we're down to 2. Let's go.
Right. Made me want to cry and run away. But I didn't.
Okay, you overcame there.
I did. So that was the first time when I was trying that trick in front of people. And so it went terribly, but then it never been that bad ever since, right? It can only get better from there. So that was very memorable.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, is there an event that I hate to say your best event, but I think that's a really, like, is there one that you're like, you like to tell people about or like people, people ask you like, oh, you do circus. Like, what's the coolest thing you've ever done? Is there something event that kind of stands out?
I feel like the tour to Europe was definitely very exciting this year.
So I know what that is, but you go ahead and go into it just because, like I said, not everybody listening has any idea what we're talking about. So what's the tour?
Oh, so yeah, basically, thanks to you guys, we have the opportunity to travel to Europe and then perform for the military base, for the Navy, the Air Force, and then the Marine. So for different military families, and it was definitely it's definitely a very exciting experience because you can feel their appreciation just you being there without even doing anything yet. You feel like they're just appreciate you being there and spend the time, to share this art form with them. So it's very, I feel like it's very exciting, but also it feels extra pressure because you feel like, oh, now they're all looking forward to it. You want to make it a good show. And so I remember one of the first show was in Greece. And then it was an outdoor show. And the lighting was a little bit funky. The stage was very wet for whatever reason. So there's like a couple different new situations coming up, and then it just makes us a little bit nervous because it wasn't what we expected. But the show still went on, and it's like after it, it's still great audience. It's just it's definitely a new experience. Like when you travel abroad, you can prepare everything, and then sometimes it's unexpected, and be flexible, and then that's definitely a new learning things I feel like from this trip. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was just like so many best event, so that's
a couple different ones in my head, so I feel kind of scattered all around. But I also do feel I remember one of the event. This is like probably a couple years ago. And this event was kind of interesting because it was for a very Asian school.
Okay.
And so I feel like when I came out, all the kids kind of like related to me in a way. I didn't really feel that, but the ringmaster on the side, he kind of see the audience interaction. I feel like when they see someone look like them, they have this like connection with you sometimes. So I feel like that's also a very special part. Sometimes I forgot like how the audience look at you or like how they relate to you. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that was kind of special.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
because I know I look different, I talk different, and sometimes I forgot that. So
I mean,
yeah.
you're in New York. There's a lot of people that look different and talk different. So
Yes. Well, yeah. True. But yeah.
no, I love. No, you're absolutely right. You know, you especially in the States, it is a more unique thing, which is good. I mean, you know, owning that and understanding that is important. So I love that. I'm going to speak more generically. Is there a particular type of event? I mean, outside of education, because it sounds like education is definitely your favorite, but performance wise, is there a specific type of event that you like to do more than others?
Type of event. Uh I think it's a two different. So I like to do those strolling gigs. Those
Mm-hmm.
are usually really low stress for me,
Mm-hmm.
and those are great opportunity for me to try new tricks to
Mm-hmm.
make sure my tricks are. Yeah, if I learn a couple new tricks, that's a good way, and learn how to interact with the audience and try to talk with them. And because as far as stage show, usually I don't talk, but that is something I want to start developing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like doing stage shows, but I feel like at this point I want to create a couple more different stage shows. And I feel like through strolling is a good way for me to know what is ready to put on the stage, what is
Mm-hmm.
not.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a stage show is definitely a little bit more mentally stressful for me. And I think it's more like I think it's about feeling like your act is complete enough and it's finished. Because I think sometimes when you're developing a new act, you never really know if this is finished or if you want to
Mm-hmm.
change it around, if you want to change to a different song. So it's always being,
In development.
yeah, right, developing exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like doing stage shows sometimes like it's more mentally stressful for me,
Mm-hmm.
and strolling is more relaxing. So I
Mm-hmm.
can't really say one or the other which one I like better. But
Mm-hmm.
stage show, you definitely get a lot more feedback. It feels a lot. It feels great when you do a good show,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if you nail everything in real, it feels great.
Mm-hmm.
It's that's the goal. So it's more challenging, and so I like it more, but also it's always more stressful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, I get
that's
it.
what's
That makes
fair.
perfect sense. I mean, being in front of people, they're all watching you versus interacting with people more of a
Yeah,
different
and
developer.
I do think that's another thing. I was talking with a couple of different performer friends.
Mm-hmm.
So some people they like to perform
Mm-hmm.
and they learn how to like juggling. Some people like juggling and learn how to like perform, like to
Mm,
perform. So I think in
interesting.
my case is the second one, right? I like the art form,
Mm-hmm.
I like the juggling, I like the circus skills,
Mm-hmm.
and performing in front of people is a different skills. I'm still trying to learn how to present the skills in the right way, how to,
Mm-hmm.
you know, don't feel like I'm just showing off because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes feel like I'm just showing off.
Look what
And
I
so
can do, kind of feel.
what's up?
I said, look what I can do is the type of like environment. But
Yeah, a
yeah,
little bit, or how to package in a way that's endearing. I think
yes.
that's the performing skills part. I am still learning and developing.
I think
So,
learning is the wrong word. Developing, I think, is the right word because you
or
have that skill.
experimenting, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you have that skill. Like
experiencing.
clearly, I've seen it, so I know it. But I love that you're very humble and that you're not you're saying, oh, I'm still working, I'm still developing, I'm not developing, I'm still learning it, which I think you
Yeah.
you are very skilled. So give yourself the credit.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I do feel like that's also the things because it's like like I see juggling all the time. I see people around me, they're all juggling all the time. So sometimes I do forget how special it is
Yeah.
for people who never see one.
Mhm.
And then that's also like the fun of performing, right? You feel like the sparks from people, like you feel like, oh, they're you inspire them a little bit just by doing this trick,
Mhm.
and to be able to look at all the skills in a new way,
Mhm.
in a fresh way. That yeah,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
So I'm curious. I mean, adults versus kids. I think oftentimes when I talk to some clients, they that we suggest circus as a either a show or walk around for an adult event. It
Mhm.
tends to not be as understood as a good option. Can you kind of speak to like how that works in that environment, and for adults or versus kids, and do you have a favorite yourself? Which one you like working for?
Hmm. I feel like circus art should be more for adults because I
Interesting.
think they can understand the concept better,
Hmm.
and also workshops they can learn so much quicker. And for kids, I feel like there's this misunderstanding between magic and circus. So I feel like I
Oh.
have this mission when it's for kids. I do feel I have this like yeah, like responsibility to kind of explain the difference and just to educate those to them.
Hmm.
So I feel like adults are actually in the right place to learn a lot better. Or
Hmm.
like a lot of like corporate kind of things. It's like the team building.
Hmm.
Learning juggling is great because it's very individual, but also there's partner things you can learn.
Hmm.
And I also feel like the concept it's not hard, but adults don't get to play anymore. They don't get to make mistakes and look silly anymore.
Hmm.
And that's why I do love to see when adults are trying and be willing, to make mistakes and know that's how you get better. If you don't look silly, you would never look cool. Right. And kids understand that concept, but adults,
Hmm.
you kind of have too much burden and have too
Hmm.
much, you don't want to look silly anymore. And so I actually do prefer, I feel like if adults are willing to give it a try, they will have more fun than kids do.
Interesting.
And I think the best combination is always like a family event, right? The
Hmm.
kids want to try and the parents are trying.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then now they can go home and try together.
Hmm.
So I think, yeah, a family event, I think it's actually a great opportunity to, have
Yeah,
both.
absolutely. And then I
Mhm.
mean, you kind of talked more about specifically about the workshops when you were just describing that, but now I'm also curious, how about show wise? I mean, is a circus program appropriate for, an adult event, or is it really focused more for like kids only?
I feel like if adults have time to play, we would do more workshop for adults, but
Ah.
adults tend to be very busy.
No, but I'm saying for show wise, like doing an actual
Oh,
performance, is it like
mm.
is that appropriate for an adult event, or is that something that really should be just for kids?
Oh, I think for adults, I think adults actually appreciate the skills a lot more.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel like kids they just want to see like so for example like Diablo, the Chinese yo-yo, it
Hmm.
could get very intricate. You could throw like the most tricky things, and adults really appreciate that.
Hmm.
But when the kids want to see just you throw nice and high, that's the only thing they want to see. So you can tell like kids and adults they will appreciate different kind of skill set.
Hmm.
So I feel like the show wise, if you're performing for adults, it will be a different kind of show
Hmm.
compared to for kids. It will be a little bit more silly, more interactive because
Hmm.
they cannot sit through. But adults, I feel like they can actually appreciate like the intricacy, or like they understand, even if they don't appreciate the art form, they can appreciate the skill itself because they
Hmm.
know it's hard.
Hmm.
So it's different, but I think it's appropriate for them all.
Hmm.
And I do like sometimes like when I do like a hula hoop in the show, you have some girls who will come to me, or adults like women, they will be like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I used to be really good at hula hooping when I was little,"
Uh-huh.
and it make them want to try again because they remember they used to be able to do something like that.
Sure.
And so that's where I like it. It's
Hmm.
like, or like when I'm doing
Inspiring.
like some strolling, you have some adults will be like, "Oh, I can juggle, let me try." Like you see like they remembers, and
Hmm.
then it remind them like, "Oh yeah, like give it a try once a while." So I do like to remind adults, the little child in their heart, and then to have fun and appreciate the art. Yeah. So
That's
I would
beautiful.
like to perform for adults more.
No, it's
And
great. I mean, and I think that's huge. I think you really shared something that people don't necessarily think about, is the value of the skills and the fact that they can appreciate it. And honestly, I
mhm,
tell clients that all the time whenever they're like, "Oh, I want to do a magician for these like 15-year-olds." Like, yes, there are magicians
mhm,
that can do a really great job, but honestly, sometimes I think a circus show is actually a better fit because they're at the age where they there's no knowing better. There's not like, oh, I know how he did that. I know how he did that kind of a look.
right.
It's just showing a skill that you're doing. And I think they're at a level where they don't need to see them you just throwing up really high and catching it, throwing up really high and catching it. They're at that
Mhm.
kind of middle ground, which is really kind of cool. So I like that you said that, and I definitely understand and agree with that. Um,
Yeah, also I feel like kids shows sometimes could be really frustrated because you're trying to show them all this like cool tricks and they really just want you to throw higher. And it's like, oh, come on. So
it's
yeah.
artistically frustrating too. That's
Could
funny.
be, could be. Yeah.
So I mean, I'd like to get into just kind of, I guess, advice. So if you could speak to a client, if a client was sitting in front of you right now and they're like, I'm considering, I'll do all three. Let's go with walk around, an actual like 40-minute show, and a workshop. Are there pieces of advice that you can give them that they should know in advance that you notice commonly is not done or thought of?
Mm, I do feel I feel like it's always more effective when they get to try. I feel like the audience sometimes don't really care about the skills unless they get to try it first or they
Hmm.
care enough. Because sometimes I feel like if you do a 45-minute show, they don't necessarily, it could be any show. Sometimes they just want a show,
Hmm.
right? So I feel like if the client just want a show, it doesn't matter if it's magic or circus or comedy show, whatever. If they just want a show, great. They know what they want.
Hmm.
But if they want the audience to care and appreciate and have some yeah, I feel like that's why in the school we would do shows and then workshop, so you just see all this,
Hmm.
now you get to try and then realize how difficult it is or how
Hmm.
easy it is, like
Hmm.
you have a better connection with
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
But for example, like workshop, you definitely want to have more than enough space. If you
Hmm.
don't, then it's a little bit tricky. And then if
How
the
much?
kids are really little, it could be too
Hmm.
challenging for them.
What
And
is
if your
what?
audience is like from 1 years old to like 20 years old, maybe that's not the best range to do
Sure.
like a workshop, right?
Okay.
So I think it takes a little bit, but I feel like that's where you're professional. That's where you come in and you
Sure.
can explain to them what they might need, right?
Hmm.
You're like a consultant, knowing, okay, this is the event they're doing, this is the gas, and then try to see what will be a good match for them.
Hmm.
So yeah, I feel like personally, I didn't really have to do that part because usually I work with good agencies like you guys. So
Well, thank you.
no, sometimes just saying that's
Sure, sure,
yeah.
sure. Well, so
Mhm.
I want to, you mentioned a couple of things, the right size, the right, age range. Is there an ideal space that you need for a show or a workshop?
Higher ceiling is always better for a show.
Okay.
When the
Is there like
ceiling
a
is,
minimum height that you think of?
I
Like
would
this
say
high
more
or
than
like
so this is what I would tell the clients. Usually, like the performing space, I would say at least 10 by 10. But
Okay.
the more, the better, right?
Hmm.
If I only have 10 by 10, I can't really ride my unicycle around too much. I would just
Okay.
be at one spot. If my ceiling is low, I can only do certain tricks. If I have more
Hmm.
ceiling, I can do more.
Hmm.
So it's just more like, yeah, the more, the better.
Is there like
Uh,
a distance that's away? So like if someone's setting up, like, well, let's say we're in a gymnasium, like they're at half court, is that too far, or do you want them like really far away for like a half court, like halfway down the
oh, so yeah, I think that's also, it's like you want to have more enough space, but at the same time, if the audience are too far away from you,
mm-hmm.
you lose the connection with them.
Uh-huh.
So I think that's always a
A
trade-off.
balance. Yeah.
But usually I don't really do a solo show by myself
Mm-hmm.
for
Hmm.
more than 30 minutes.
Hmm.
So usually when it's a bigger show, it's more like a group of us
Sure.
and we will all kind of engage and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
figure out together, and you want them to be safe enough as well. So,
Sure. Sure.
you
Sure.
know,
Absolutely. And I mean,
yeah.
time wise, is there like a sweet spot? Let's talk about, like, you mentioned the half hour. I think that's great. And for the show wise, but like let's talk to like walk around. I mean, we've kind of talked a little bit about the requirements where physically you're not able to do X, Y, and Z. So there is a
Mhm.
physical element to it. Can you kind of?
Yes.
I mean, I think people don't realize how, all you're doing is juggling. That's it. That's not a big deal. What is that? That how you could juggle for like 12 hours straight, I think, right? Is there is there an ideal time frame that you think is manageable for somebody that juggles or for yourself in general? And that really, I guess more so that keeps people engaged and interested. Let's say you're at like a festival or an outdoor event kind of thing.
I feel like if it's like a big event, if people don't get to see you all the time, then I think couple hours, like a day even, it's reasonable because
Mm-hmm.
it's not like you're just at one spot. If
Mm-hmm.
you're walking around, you're through different vendors. So usually if it's like a 4 hours
Mm-hmm.
per se, if it's like a street fair, if it's like a big festival, I would do like 4 or 5 hours. Then I would switch different prop. Maybe I'll do juggling
Mm-hmm.
for an hour and I walk around, see everyone, and I switch a prop and I
Mm-hmm.
do another loop.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying, so I can kind of like, see everyone, but not there all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm just staying at one spot, then it feels like a show. Then you see all the tricks I can do. It's a little bit
Mm-hmm.
different.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why it's like for walk around, I like the interaction as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if they really want to interact with you, I'll just stay there for 30 minutes even. So it's and if it's more interactive, that always give me a little bit physical break.
Mm-hmm.
When people are hula hooping, then I don't necessarily have to hula hoop that much. So it's
Sure.
it's yeah, I think it's about taking that. And also it's like if my arm are getting tired from juggling, then I would do some unicycle. So it's my lower body. So
Mm.
I can pace myself a lot more efficiently if if there's enough space, if I
Mhm.
know the situation, and
Mhm.
if I can do all kind of props, then it give me, I have more options. Yeah.
I think I mean, you kind of added another point of what the value of having somebody that does a variety of things is the
Mm-hmm.
ability to switch things. I mean, I mean, what is an average length of time before you have to take a break? Is it, an hour? Is it 30 minutes? Is it 15 minutes? Like how long can you usually
I say
go
I
before you take
say
a break?
an hour and a half
Okay.
usually are pretty okay.
Mm.
After an hour and a half, I would say I should drink some water. I don't necessarily need, but I
Yeah.
try to remind myself to drink some water. Yeah. And sometimes it's the next day you feel it's like, oh, I shouldn't do that much yesterday. So I'm learning. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
fair. That is fair.
But yeah.
I'd love to just you mentioned the agencies you work with a lot of people. You've done a lot of different things over your career so far. Can you speak to? I mean, not necessarily just us, but like what? Well, I guess so. I mean, what have you noticed that kind of we maybe do differently that works well? That really adds value.
I feel like you guys know your performers, which
Okay.
is rare in
Oh.
a like I feel like in your area as well. And I also feel like you guys are an entertainment company, not just a performer who's also trying to be an agent,
Mm.
because that happens quite a lot. And I feel like that have a different competitive kind of aspect sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like the way I feel like you guys, yeah, I do like you will be personally there to know your performers, which I think it's the most important thing is really if you want to
Mm-hmm.
sell someone, if you don't even know them, how can you sell them
Mm-hmm.
appropriately, right? Or how do you even match them up?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that part is really, really important. And also, I do like the variety of things you guys do,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have like different, some balloons, some is like face painting, and some is like circus event, some is touring. They are very different, big variety. And I feel like you guys have like a big roster of entertainers and performers you can choose from,
Mm-hmm.
which is great because a lot of people, and you guys do all over the country,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of agency or they are only focused on like very specific area, or
Mm-hmm.
they only have like 4 or 5 people who they send out to, which
Mm-hmm.
is different. And so it's always fun to do your event as well because I never know who I'm going to work with, and then it's different vibe, and it's always really fun vibes.
Mm.
So yeah,
Good.
and I
Oh,
feel
I'm
like
glad.
you guys have like a whole package,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have like game as well, you have like carnival game, you have
Mm-hmm.
like people doing like hair braiding, even just
Mm-hmm.
all
Mm-hmm.
kind of things I don't even know exist. And I think that's the most magical part. It's like
Aw.
you provide things they don't even know they want,
Thank
which I
you.
think it's a great value. It really is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for that. I love that, and I always I ask because I'm curious how with how other people perceive it. That's the biggest thing is when you're in it, as you kind of said it. You're in it. You're around jugglers, so you don't realize the value. You're when you're in it, you don't see it. So I love to hear how other people perceive it. So I love that. So thank you.
And then one more thing is I feel like whenever I work with you guys is I feel like you guys trust your performer.
Hmm.
Like you are not like micromanaging, telling like
Hmm.
what can do, what cannot do. You
Hmm.
kind of like, okay, they're good, they're professional, and you send them out. And as a performer, you feel the kind of trust, and that
Hmm.
make me feel better being trusted.
Hmm.
So I think it's a mutual respect and mutual feelings.
For sure, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, I'm glad you feel that way, and I agree with you
Yes,
100%. I mean, I always say you gotta know your people, you gotta know what you're doing,
right.
and then obviously you bring in professionals, and and you will trust the person as from my perspective, you'll trust the person if you know you're choosing the right tool for the right job. I keep bringing the same thing up, but that's the biggest thing here is when you
Right,
got the right
because
person, right thing. Go ahead.
you also don't want to trust the wrong person and then this went wrong. I mean, it's a possibility.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Not always the right choices. That's possible.
Yeah.
Um, we've been
Yeah.
talking about. I really appreciate you doing this. Let's get. You know what? I'm gonna do two things I've been doing. Thinking back in your entire career, is there something that you can that I'm usually after all of this talking, something kind of pops back up in your head. Is there some time that really that you can think of that has taught you a lesson that has carried through the rest of your career?
Ooh, tell me a lesson.
I don't know.
Um, I think there are different lessons I learned. I wouldn't say like one specific like big thing that changes my life,
Hmm.
but like for example, like I saw my partner, he torn his ACL.
Mm.
That's a lesson I didn't have to learn personally.
Hmm.
But be careful with my body. And
Hmm.
as a performer getting older, that is definitely something, you know. I hope I
Absolutely.
don't have to learn that personally. But yeah, love my body, be careful, and then take care of my body. That's one thing. And the other one, I think it's just because this happened more recently, is when I was at a school program, I kind of make some of the kids feel bad because
Mm.
I feel like I got frustrated at a situation and I
Hmm.
kind of take my frustration out on them.
Mm.
And then they verbally letting me know I didn't make them feel good. And
Mm.
then so I end up apologizing to them.
Mm.
And that was kind of like a hard thing because I
Mm.
never dealt with that before.
Mm.
And then just I guess it's like yeah, as a educator to be more gentle and then really try to separate my personal frustration sometimes or my personal life with
Mhm.
in the setting, not to let out my frustration. I think maybe like parents they learn that lesson
Mhm.
very early, but because I didn't really have kids and all that, sometimes that part it's
Still learning.
kids are kids and be gentle. And I'm trying to and have more patience for them.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that was a lesson. Just
That makes sense. I mean, it's great that you're able to, or you're humble enough to kind of not have an ego and go there and actually do apologize, which
oh
I don't know if
yeah,
all
no,
performers would be like that. So that's great.
because it's like like sometimes before the show people all get frustrated. We get
Hmm.
like we want to make sure it's a good show for the
Sure.
kids, but then when I'm rushing them, that make them even more nervous. It
Hmm.
doesn't translate good. Like I have to be extra calm because as a performer I can be nervous and frustrated before the show, or like I
Hmm.
have my anxiety, but when I'm directing the show I really have to be the opposite because they are feeling how I would feel if
Hmm.
I'm doing a show. So like trying to imagine what kind of person would calm me down before a show, and that's who I wanted to be,
Hmm.
right? So I think it's a little bit different role, not just a performer anymore, but more like an educator's role.
Hmm.
So I think that was a lesson to me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Let me ask you this: different direction. Still looking back in your career, what are you most proud of?
Oh, what am I most proud of?
Hmm.
I'm just proud to be here. I do feel in general, I am just happy to like truly like to find circus art and are still doing this and then to be able to do it solo.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people start when they're 4 years old. You see a lot of like contortion who start or like gymnastic, they started when they're little. So it's like, as someone who started like when I was 28, I never really think I can do it professionally or be professional enough to do it for a living.
Hmm.
So, and I like the community I found. I like the people who's in the community. So I kind of feel like I'm happy. I'm proud that I continue. I didn't give up, even though my partner doesn't do it anymore. But I feel like it kind of becomes my own thing, and I found my own community. Yeah, like I don't feel like
Hmm.
just as a lovely assistant, because I feel like the first half of my career, I'm like this add-on,
Mhm.
right? I'm not just me.
Mhm.
So I kind of I'm appreciate myself and I'm proud to still do this. Yeah.
Beautiful. That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Looking forward to the next year.
Mm.
Is there anything that you're looking forward to?
Whew. Um, there also I just went to a juggling festival a couple days ago actually. So it's always inspiring. So looking forward to, I guess, yeah, I want to play more this year. I want to
Mhm.
create something that's more fun and less about skills, but more about movement.
Mhm.
Um, try to connect with the audience more. Try to see if I can talk in my show with the audience,
Well, you've
which
been
is kind
talking for like an hour and something minutes
of
right now,
yeah,
so
but you
you
know,
can talk.
on stage with a lot of people is different than one on one. And understand I have my accent, and then to be able to talk slow, and so that's something I'm learning.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think that's something I'm kind of exciting about this year.
Mhm.
Try to do something new. Try not to do the same act again and create something I haven't done. So yeah,
Well, I look forward to seeing what you're doing with that. That sounds exciting. So I love that.
yeah.
All right. Last but not least, is there something unique about yourself that people generally don't know about you?
Something about myself people usually don't know.
Hmm.
Uh, Not really. I'm really nice.
Well, I can think of something. I see something in your background that's unique about you. You have a pet of some sort that not normal people have.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I used to do yeah. So during the pandemic, I have a pet dog with my partner, and we have a YouTube channel. So
Mhm.
we used to do content. We used to be YouTubers for a little bit. We
Mhm.
still do. We still do. It's a different form of entertainment, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So yeah, we have a pet dog. She's 5 years old.
Mhm.
Her name is Wrinkle. She travels. She can juggle.
Ah,
Um,
that's cool.
she ran in the New York City Marathon.
Oh
She
wow.
has yeah, she has a couple good achievement.
Mhm.
So yeah. So any questions regarding to pet dog?
I mean, a pet duck is something I think that's kind of unique. I don't think a lot of people have a pet duck, so that's cool. Uh,
Yeah, and she was so I think it's kind of like an animal training as well.
mhm.
So we never have a pet duck before, and I never really have a pet before. So
Mhm.
I think it's like training animals are a little bit like children to figure
Mhm.
out, how to communicate with them, to
Mhm.
figure out how to encourage them so they want to do it over and over again. So
Mhm.
it's not like a dog. They don't like treat or food the same way dogs like food.
Mhm.
So a lot of time with our duck, it's like a verbal encouragement, like a verbal compliment. And she will understand. Like when she does something good, we will say like, good girl. And then she
Ah.
will get really excited. And then so she associates this good feeling with this trick.
Mhm.
So I think that's like a fun experience, like to
That's cool.
learn how to train an animal. And then she kind of blew our mind to be able to like juggle. Like they are
Hmm.
so much more capable than what we thought. And that part is it's yeah, it's crazy if you spend enough time with an animal, they could
Mhm.
do a lot more than you think.
That's so cool. Love that. And I think that is a great way to kind of wrap this up. Is there
My pet dog,
yes, absolutely.
Slushy. Yeah.
Aw, adorable. Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with everybody before we wrap up?
Uh, Hopefully this has been useful for whatever reason. Hopefully, my experience can relate with someone.
Mhm.
And no, thank you for asking all these questions and giving me a time to actually think about,
Yeah.
my career and then, a couple little moments. And yeah, just remind myself and to be appreciative where I am and
Of
see how
course.
far I've been. So, yeah.
Yeah. You've done some amazing things, you know, and I'm
And thank
really...
you for the opportunities.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for being a part of our family. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are enjoying this, if you want to see Joyce at your event, make sure you give us a call. We are Magical Memories Entertainment. And this was Magical Memories Unlocked, your guide to event success. Is our deep dive. We're going to be doing a lot of these, so make sure to stay tuned. Thanks. Have a nice day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Magical Memories Unlocked. This guide to event success is so helpful, some are shocked. Planning something big, we're here for you, with ideas and tips to make your vision come true. Magical Memories Entertainment is the team to make all